Good morning, guys. Welcome to day 54 until I am a YouTube millionaire. 54 days of doing this, and I'm going to continue every single day. If nothing else, this is good for posterity as a personal diary, a journal, what have you, so it's good by me. But like I was saying yesterday in my previous video, you are always on parade. Something I forgot to mention in that video is you never know who's actually watching you for guidance. Because like I was saying, how nobody really knows where we're going in a future that is unwritten, you could be the very best that we can think to do. Just like Mr. Robert Heinlein was in those stories. But this is going to be actually a book review today of Robert Heinlein's Starship Troopers, which I finished about a week and a half ago. So if you've seen the Starship Troopers movie, that was, I believe, made in 1998, right around there. Fantastic movie. I love that movie. It's just excellent. But it's not exactly the same as the book. The book has some, it's quite different. But at the same time, the book was only intended to be there as a thought piece. It wasn't necessarily there specifically for the plot, while the plot was pretty good. It was there to show you kind of an expose, if you will, of how society would evolve/develop over the course of the next few hundred years. How potentially, if we're not careful, the experiment of the United States government that we have might not end up lasting in perpetuity. It very well could end very soon. And, any government that runs off of fiat currency has a lifespan of about 250 to 300 years. And the vast majority of governments throughout human history have not lasted much longer than that anyway. So there's a handful that you can name, like the governments of Great Britain, like Magna Carta type of thing, that lasts for thousands of years, has lasted for thousands of years. The Roman Empire lasted for thousands of years, but there's not very many. That you can name them on, basically two hands. The Sargon of Akkad, the Akkadians, which I believe is the first, full-blown, organized civilization, society, governmental structure, which was like 10,000 years ago, six or 10,000 years ago, something like that. Some really long period in the past, compared to our lives, that is. So yeah, basically Starship Troopers is an elaboration on a possible future for the human race. And it goes into some really good ideas. Namely, that you have to have a vested interest in the government in order to get a vote. All right? Have some skin in the game. Josie, the redheaded libertarian, said that exact term on Timcast IRL last night. And they were also talking about Robert Heinlein. I don't know, maybe, like I said, you're always on parade. Anyways, so that is a critical component to their government several hundred years in the future. Also, they develop space travel. They develop interstellar space travel using this thing called the Cherenkov drive. I guess it was a pseudo-warp drive that was created by a Russian scientist or something to that effect. Lo and behold, I have some similar ideas going on in my novel series. But if you move around the characters, you move around what happens with them, like for instance Carl, who is Johnny Rico's genius friend, ends up being unalived on Pluto because the bugs discover Pluto as a forward operating base of the human beings. So they destroy it. And Carl was there when they did it. That's what happens in the book. But in the movie, he becomes one of the head thinkers in games and theory, and after Sergeant Zim discovers a brain bug. That actually does happen in the book as well as in the movie. Sergeant Zim is a really cool dude, apparently. And yeah, I mean, I agree. Then basically he puts his hand on the brain bug and says, "It's afraid." It's ironic. It's something so simple, and I think this is why they did this in the movie. But you need an authority to tell you that's actually what the creature's thinking. It is important. It is important. Okay? Kind of silly, but important. Just the way we are. So yeah, in the book, he becomes a brevet captain. Sergeant Zim, that is, because he shouldn't stay as a sergeant. He should be going up in rank. He's a really good military member. Johnny Rico goes to OCS, becomes a lieutenant, doesn't have the same injuries that he has in the movie. Carmen ends up being a squeeze of his, but only temporarily, or something to that effect. It's very similar to what happens in the movie. However, that tangent of the storyline is not elaborated upon. So, yeah, it's really just a thought piece. But what I really liked towards the end of the book was that his father, Johnny Rico's father, actually survives the blast of Buenos Aires, which happens in the book as well as in the movie. In the movie, both of his parents pass away. But in the book, his father survived. And Chiron, quiet. Sorry, guys. In the book, his father survived. And his father is actually inspired by his son with tremendous pride when he runs into him as his son is going to OCS. His father ends up actually tearing up and crying a little bit because he's so proud of him, and tells his son how his son inspired him to be a man and to join the military, essentially. And at the end of the book, Johnny Rico, who's now a second lieutenant, his father is his sergeant for his platoon. And I found that very interesting because there's something very similar that I am doing in my novel series with the main character, the scientist, and the first guy he saves from the apocalypse, Thomas. Thomas is actually, well, how should I put it? If you ever watch the show Dragon Ball Super, yeah, I'm giving you my nerd hat right now. So, the strongest being in the universe, known as Zeno, right, is basically, infinitely powerful, but has a mind of a 10-year-old, right? Not stupid, just young, childlike, right? And his servant is the Grand Priest, Dai, D-A-I, all right? And the Grand Priest, it is surmised, is actually much more powerful than Zeno, but nevertheless follows Zeno's orders. Chiron, will you please stop? Lay down. Hey, stop. Sorry, guys. And that would actually fall in line with the gods of destruction and their attendant angels, right? Because the attendant angels are all stronger than their gods of destruction. So if Dai is more powerful than Zeno, it kind of makes sense. Goes along with it. But Dai is nevertheless subservient to Zeno. It makes me think of Starship Troopers, as well as the theme I'm building in my story. You're never told who Jesus' dad is. You're told that he's God, right? But you don't know what he looks like. You don't know who specifically he is. And those are details that the Bible can't really put in the Bible because it'll distract from the main lesson. I have my ideas on who that person is. Could be a specific person, as well as just the God form, the overall being, if you will. So, Starship Troopers. It's an interesting one. Strongly recommend it. it's not going to just be watching the movie over again. It is its own unique read, and just like the movie, it's very good. Strongly recommended. Anyways, got a little distracted by the doggos and everything. Love y'all. Peace.